inspiring episode of Women Who Lead, where we celebrate the incredible power of legacy and leadership. I'm your host, Teresa Palacio Smith, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and I'm delighted to bring you yet another story of powerful women who lead in our industry. And this episode, which is in honor of Mother's Day, which is coming up this Sunday, we're going to recognize the unique bond between mothers and daughters with a spotlight on some remarkable young women who have chosen to follow in their mother's footsteps and pursued careers in real estate. These rising stars have carved their own paths, ignited their own passion, and are shaping their futures with dedication and purpose. So get comfortable with your own cafecito. We all have our little coffee together and join us for an insightful conversation as we celebrate the power of women and the legacy of leadership with these generational trailblazers. So with me today is Kelly Boehmer, and Kelly is with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Select Properties and partners as a team leader with the Boehmer team servicing the St. Louis metropolitan area. I almost did a Gino thing, right? The Boehmer team has been recognized for 10 consecutive years for being ranked in the top one half of 1% of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services nationwide. First of all, Kelly, what an achievement. Amazing. And Kelly has over 25 years of experience and spent over 10 years in new construction, working with premier local home builders. Along with that, she has a prior experience as in a background in teaching. I think that's going to be a huge asset when you're providing education to all your clients, Kelly, and I'm sure it has really been helpful. And she, along with her mother, Linda, are a full-service, top-producing, award-winning real estate team servicing buyers and sellers and focus on providing their clients unparalleled service. So, Kelly, I really want to commend you because I know you also are a longtime contributor to the Sunshine Kids organization, which we really appreciate. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here with Stephanie and you to just have conversation and celebrate not only the accomplishments in real estate, but the relationships with our mothers. I think it's a very insightful thing right now this time of year. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear your story and a little bit more about your background. Stephanie. So, Stephanie Peters is a second generation real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Northwest Real Estate and has spent her entire life in the competitive landscape of the Oregon real estate market. Because I know you were born and raised in Oregon, but also moved quite a bit. So, you bring that experience and knowledge to your real estate experience. She's also the daughter of Rosalie Warner, who is the Senior Vice President of Network Services at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, which is huge for us because she is a big staple in our organization. And also, she started her career in real estate as well. Although she's now in management, I know she had a background in real estate. And Stephanie, I know you're going to talk a little bit about that as well when we talk later on. You are from, I know your background in social marketing. You're big in social marketing. And I love that because that helps create and find the best home buying and home selling services to your clients. But you also received your degree in business and were a paralegal and worked in this area prior to making the jump into real estate. So I just also want to mention that you also have a sister, Catherine, who's also in real estate. So it's like a trio, right?
Yes.
And Catherine's actually been on the show before as well, because she was here when we were celebrating Military Month. So again, welcome, Stephanie. I'm excited to have you on the show as well.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, Jessica Smith was my own daughter, was supposed to be on this show today, and I have to mention that and I know you all probably have heard me how excited I am about being a grandmother for the first time, but she's not able to join us because she is not feeling well, although she's fine. So, she said, "Hey, Mom, just start the show without me," and I just want to comment on her before we end and let you know why she's not here. So, all of you, I'm excited you're here. I always start the first question I ask everyone because I'm really interested in learning is how did you get started in the business? And, what was that background like? Because I know that both of your mothers were in it. And was there any hesitation because of that? And I'll start with you, Kelly, first.
Sure. So my mom was in the business not too long before I entered, but just a few years prior to that, she was working in new construction, selling for a local home builder, and I was teaching. So I was an elementary school teacher, which did afford me some opportunities on weekends and summers and that type of thing. And let me tell you something about teaching summer school. You're only going to do it once because it isn't. If you think teaching's an underpaid job, teach summer school. So I did that one summer and I'm thinking this isn't, I don't want to do this again. So following summers after that, I worked part-time assisting my mom in the new construction neighborhoods and really enjoyed that. So after several years of doing it on a very part-time basis, weekends and summers, I decided to make the jump into full-time real estate. So I left teaching in 2004 and I joined my mom selling new construction for a number of years and then transitioned over into brokerage in 2009. So had a couple years of new construction full-time before coming into brokerage. So that is a little bit of the background. As far as, the hesitation, there's a natural hesitation for me because I am a single professional. And so one income household. And when you go from a teaching job where you're making a salary and it's negotiated for you and in a salary and benefits and you know what that paycheck's going to be every week to entering an industry where you eat what you kill, right? So we don't always know what those paychecks are going to be. And you're an independent contractor. So the lack of benefits and that there was a natural hesitation for just survival and whether or not that was going to be a stable way to make a living.
Well, I mean, I can certainly relate with you. I started in new construction as well, but the fact that you were, hesitant because of that really is something that a lot of people are also, scared about. But I'm so glad that you made the jump because you've been very successful, and I'd like to learn more about what, has taken you through those tough times because you were in the industry also probably when the tough times happened in 2008 and 2010. And I think that's why you kind of went into brokerage after new construction was really having a difficult time. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Stephanie, how about you? How did you get into real estate? And I know that you did hesitate, right?
Yes, very much so. Like kicking and screaming, very much so. Hesitated. Yeah, I was a paralegal before I was doing medical malpractice defense.
Oh,
Actually, I was
wow.
representing doctors and nurses in medical malpractice cases. And so very different, very heavy. It's a very emotionally heavy job. There are a lot of cases that my attorney took that were heavy emotionally. And so the job took a lot of hours, took a lot of time away from my family. It was a lot of also high stress, high stakes. And come right before the pandemic, this was February of 2020, right before the pandemic actually hit, my law firm, my attorney was retiring and my law firm was like, hey, we can't afford you. We got to let you go. And so my entire team was gone, dismantled, and the pandemic hit. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I actually got hired on at Nike to go do paralegal work with Nike because our headquarters here in Beaverton is Nike. And so I got hired on at a job there. Once the pandemic hit, they let go of every new hire. No one was starting. I was literally driving onto campus through the gates, like I had made it. And they were like, turn around, can't come on campus. We're work from home now. So they never reopened that position. It was never going to happen. They were already laying off. I saw the writing on the wall. And my mom's like, well, I think it's time for you to get your license now. It's time. So I decided to do it. My sister also was telling me, you need to go do it. I don't know what you're thinking. So I went and did it. And honestly, I'm so happy. Like I'm exactly where I should be. I should have always been doing this. I don't know what I was thinking. I was made for it. And, kind of like Kelly was saying, it's scary because you don't know. I mean, the average agent, I think 49% of agents only sell one home a year, right? That's the new statistic that came out.
Yes.
So that's not enough
Yeah.
to make a living, right? So, yeah. And thankfully with having my mom as the great example that she is, I was able to learn very quickly and pick it up very fast, and I would never do anything else.
Oh, you never look back. I love that. And the fact that you had that paralegal degree, I'm sure has helped you as well to explain the process of real estate because it's very complex. People don't realize how difficult and the work that all of our agents do in making sure that their clients are protected and that they understand all the different investment requirements for the biggest financial investment they're going to make. So I commend both of you for what you're doing because I know it's really such an important part of what we do. So in what ways has your mother, what her career path was, inspired you? Because each of them obviously have been an inspiration in the work they've done. So I'll start with you first, Stephanie.
So my mom was a real estate agent here in Oregon. And actually, some of the agents in my office were her agents. She was a principal broker. She managed about 2 or 3 offices at a time. She was a busy, busy lady. And I was stealing candy from all their offices. So now they're my colleagues and they're all down the hall from me. And it's very fun. But yeah, so that's kind of a surreal full circle moment. And, so she was doing that. And then all of a sudden she got a call from corporate, and corporate was noticing the work she was doing. And they were like, we want you, this was Prudential Northwest at the time, right? And they said, we would like to bring you on. And then soon it was Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, which is incredible. And, then she decided, okay, like I'm just going to keep climbing. And that determination in the face of every new challenge she had. I mean, she had some challenging markets. My mom has seen every single market. And the stuff that she's seen is insane. And those challenges and the way she was able to adapt and kind of move and change and help other agents adapt and grow and change, that has allowed me to now teach courses on how to help other agents make videos. And it's allowed me not to sweat the changes that come in the industry. And it's allowed me not to, as my mom would say, sweat those small stuff.
I love
So
that. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, her grit and her determination and her adaptability is something that I think I take with me in every market we have, which sometimes changes weekly.
Well, the adaptability I think is really spot on, and I think that's really critical in the industry that we are in and in the times we're in. So kudos to you, Stephanie, for being able to just say, "Hey, this is what I've learned from her, how she's inspired me, and here's how I've adapted myself to be able to kind of follow in her footsteps." How about you, Kelly?
So one of the greatest things I think about my relationship with my mom is my mom's a very young mom. So my mom and dad started a family early in life. And, that of course presents its own set of challenges. But my parents have the most amazing work ethic. I mean, and people will say that who, meet me and they'll say, well, I know you'll be a hard worker because I know both of your parents are hard workers. I mean, my parents are just incredibly hard workers. And so are myself, and I only have one sibling. So my brother, we're both hard workers. And I think we just come by that naturally. So when you start a family young, as my parents did, you really have no choice, but you have to work. And so they just have this amazing work ethic that has guided and shaped everything we've ever done in our lives, from playing sports as kids to, being entrepreneurs and business people and jobs and careers. So it's just so motivational to see that drive and that gets people going. So I think that's really carried on through everything that my mom has done and then kind of passed on to me. And the thing that they've always instilled in me, as well as my brother, is everything that you get is earned. You're not going to be given anything, and you shouldn't expect to be given anything, but you have to work for and earn everything that you get. And I think that's something we also take a lot of pride in, a lot of the success in business that my mom and I have had in the real estate arena. Many times people will say, oh, you're so lucky. You're so, well, yeah, sure. There's a little bit of luck involved in it, but at the end of the day, it's hard work. And I do truly take a lot of pride in the fact that we have worked very hard and we've earned the opportunities that have been given to us. So that's really motivational to me, just because that I know that it starts with them.
Is your dad also in the business?
He is not.
Okay.
He's semi-retired recently from the home building industry. So
Okay.
a little bit of the business also, but not directly in real estate. Now we do have a thing on the team. We call him our director of special projects because he does fill the gaps of a lot of things like putting out signs and lock boxes and helps with all of our events. And all of the people who are fortunate enough to work with our team definitely realize that not only is he a player for us and helping out with little things here and there, but everybody knows the amazing support he provides to us all the time.
Oh, I think that's great. And the fact that your work ethic, you learn from them. And that's really something that's so important in this business because you are, no one monitors you, right? You don't have to show up anywhere. I mean, it's really kind of like one of those things where you have to be your own boss and you have to say, these are the times I'm going to work and when I'm going to be in, that ethic is going to be so important if you're going to be successful.
I'll tell you a short story you'll appreciate along that lines. My mom always tells new agents when they come in that right after she signed, because she came into the brokerage arena about a year before I did. And I was still selling new construction. She came to brokerage and she came to a few meetings and a few weeks later, she wasn't going to be able to attend the sales meeting because something had come up that she had to do. And she called the office and told the receptionist, can you just let them know I'm not going to make it to the sales meeting? The person who answered the phone said, okay. Like, why are you calling?
Why are you telling me?
But that's just an example. I mean, she took pride in the fact that there was a meeting and you're only going to better yourself by being there. But yeah, she called and let them know she wasn't coming to the sales meeting. And that's been a joke around here for years that she
That's
did that.
great, though. That tells her integrity, right?
That's
Of
so
making
sweet.
sure. I love that. Love it. Well, I know there are challenges. I know there have got to be because I can't even imagine if Jessica and I were together, what are the challenges that you've experienced? And, then we'll talk about the advantages as well. And you've kind of mentioned them already, Stephanie, but what are some of the challenges that comes with having someone that you're following, in other words, in their footsteps?
Yeah, I think that in some ways, sometimes I get imposter syndrome, right? Because my mom knows so much. And so then people kind of expect me, or at least I think it's all in my head. People think I'm just like her, or we
Why
have
don't you know that?
yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes that imposter syndrome sets in, like, well, who wants to hear from me? They could just ask my mom, like, why would they want to hear from me? And so sometimes that imposter syndrome does set in a little bit. But I think that, I always think back to one of my mom's colleagues, your colleague as well, had said to me, Stephanie, your mom never asked for a seat at the table. She just always thought that seat was hers. And
I love that.
I carried that with me for so long.
Yeah.
Like, if you just kind of have the confidence, I guess, to get over that, to take that step over the imposter syndrome a little bit, it does help. But there have been times where I've called her, I'm like, I can't speak at convention. Who wants to hear from me at convention? Why would they want to
We
hear
all
from
do. We all do.
Yeah. So those, I would say those challenges, it is such a privilege and an honor to be my mother's daughter. I take such pride in it, but it also does have some higher stakes. So little more eyes on me than sometimes I even know that there are.
So those are the kind of disadvantages or challenge that you might have as well, and the advantages as well. How about you, Kelly?
So I think the advantages far outweigh the challenges for sure. But not only, I think a lot of people naturally assume that we would have a lot of challenges and we really don't. And I'm not just saying that because, we're on a podcast, but the truth is that, I mean, we really don't. When I really sat down and thought about this question, the greatest challenge is the fact that we are in the same family and we're a very small family. It's just like I told you, it's my brother and my dad, and my brother is married and has a family, but we are a small family and we do enjoy doing things together, vacationing and traveling. And my mom and I, especially, we travel together all the time. The two of us do all kinds of things. But I think the challenge comes in the fact that we are the team leaders, we are running the business, and we both very much work in the business. We're not passive team leaders where everybody else is doing everything. So the challenge really lies in the fact that we want to do things together outside of work. And by being partners in that regard, it's sometimes hard to get away for long periods of time and be away from the business. Where if you had a team leader partner who wasn't your family, then it's easy to say, you take your vacation and I'll run things, and then vice versa. But it doesn't work that way when you're trying to do things together as a family. So it sounds really crazy, but that is really the only challenge we ever experience.
I can imagine that poses a huge problem because you do want to take time out and enjoy each other, and it's family. So I can see that that would be a complication. But I love the positive, that you have positivity relationship that you have with your mom. Have you been able to carve your own area? And it sounds to me like you were from the very beginning, because you actually got into new construction and then she went into a brokerage first and then you kind of followed. But how have you been able to say, here are my clients? Or, I mean, obviously you're on a team, so it works together, but I would imagine sometimes it could conflict. So,
I think I expected going into the industry that would be challenging, kind of some of the things that Stephanie said. How is that going to play out? Are people going to respect you because you're the daughter, you're the younger person, right? But to be honest, it's been extremely natural and hasn't been nearly as hard as I think people would anticipate. I think there's a couple things that go into that. Being a small family and also being very local. We're very local to our area. We are involved, have over the years been involved in so many community organizations and different things. So much of our SOI is crossover. Most of the people who know her know me and vice versa. And so there's a natural pipeline when it comes to people reaching out to us. They'll always say, Kelly or Linda, call me back, whoever. And I think everybody feels naturally comfortable with both of us. And so that's been, really, really easy, that you don't feel like you have to create your own identity. People see us as a pair, as a partnership. And that's what you really want with any real estate team, whether it's your mother or not. So, but I think outside of that, my mom and I do physically look alike and we have a lot of similar mannerisms. People who know us know we are very, very different. We are truly very different in that we have very different strengths and weaknesses. Not only are they different, but we know them, we own them, and we accept them, and we embrace them. There's lots of tasks that come to the table with it day to day in this office. And it's very easy to say, Linda's going to take care of that or Kelly's going to take care of that, because our strengths and weaknesses will naturally guide them to that. So in terms of carving it out, making it your own, I think that's happened naturally just by utilizing our strengths and weaknesses, knowing what they are, respecting them, and sticking to that has helped us kind of just create that right environment.
oh, I love that. So
Mhm.
in your how many people are part of your team? Because it's your mom and I know you have a team as well.
Yeah, there's 6 of us, 6
Okay.
besides the 2 of us, so 8 total.
And who handles most of the day-to-day, like wigs control, with your team member conversation? Is that you or is that your mom?
We're actually both very, very involved in all of those conversations. I think there's some things that naturally, like I said, if it's marketing related and more creative side, that is definitely her arena. Whereas if it's more tactical and that, it's definitely my arena. And so I think a lot of times the team members will come to the person that the task is best suited for assistance. But I would say, and they might tell you differently, but I would say that any of them feel open coming to either one of us. And we're both very present. We're both in the office every day, outside of appointments and that, but we're in the office and we're present and we're available and we're both very full-time. But we're also, like I said, we're not passive team leaders. We work in the business. I mean, we are the rainmakers. We are in the business. So it's not like a situation where we're not out doing what they're doing. We're out doing what every one of them are doing every day.
Kelly, first of all, I'm so proud of you myself because of the way you speak about your relationship with your mom and how her strength. I would have thought you said yours was the marketing strength versus the other. And to say that, I was like, oh, surprised. It's funny because I would agree with you on that. My daughter's very tactical, operational. She's always been, that's her background, and she's so good at that. And she also is really good at marketing. So we combine both of those efforts as well. So thank you so much for sharing.
One other thing to add to that too, I think really important in the relationship is just the trust we have in each other. I think that, I trust that the things that she's done and she's working on and the projects that she's doing, I know they're going to be amazing. I know what she produces is going to be phenomenal. And I think she trusts that if she runs with it, I'm going to love it, and vice versa. And I think that's a really important part of any partnership, but definitely when you're working together, not only as family, but as real estate partners.
Oh, in sync. I love that. Um, so Stephanie, I know you're a new mom. And so that's such an exciting news because I know that will be where Jessica is in less than a month. And it's tough. It's tough handling, this business and
Mhm.
managing motherhood and, the times that you're away. How have you been able to handle that? What advice do you give to others that are looking at real estate as a possible opportunity to balance, how you balance both?
Yeah, it's a superpower I have not quite mastered. I am I am working on it. I am working on it. I have help, which I think was very hard for me, especially as the firstborn, to ask for help. That is something I'm working on in 2024, is asking for help. Kelly knows all about that, being a teacher. Everybody asks for help, but I'm working on that. So yes, we have help. But I realized that she came into my life and things kind of slowed down for me, right? Everything I did was much slower, and I wasn't able to get to things as fast. And I realized I was running at a million miles a minute. And because of her, positively, I have been able to actually be more intentional with my business, with the things that I'm doing, because I'm slowing down. So I've been able to find those intentional moments. And I think the best part too is that I'm time blocking a lot more. And so the times that I do get alone with my daughter, the times that I do get time for just me and work, those are times where I'm very intentional in the things that I'm doing. So it's hard, but we're getting through it. And she is the best little assistant I could ask for.
So how long time did you take off before did you take any time off? Because that's a question I get a lot from people because with your education, teaching, and with your previous career, you had time off, right? That you could say, okay, I'm
Yeah,
taking 6 weeks off or whatever the FMLA, covers. But when you're an independent contractor, that's a little
yeah,
different.
that's right.
So,
I
right?
didn't take a single day off
Oh, gosh.
at all. I filmed a listing video 3 days post-discharge of the hospital. I don't recommend it at all. I don't recommend it. So that has been, again, another learning curve. Next time, if we have a second, I will probably try to carve out some time for myself. I don't
Yes.
recommend that.
Yes.
Of course, she was born at the end of June, so it is our busiest time.
Yes.
So there is that. No, I did not take any time off. My husband thankfully was able to be home for 3 months, and so we really kind
You
of
were able
pushed
to kind of
on time.
coordinate that.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, he
what's
went to a
really
lot of
nice.
appointments with me, a lot, a lot.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's really nice to know. I mean, I just wondered, I hate that you weren't able to take time off, but I totally understand. This is the business that we're in. But the advantage is that you are able to take moments like, okay, which are really what's beautiful about real estate is that you can kind of set your own parameters, right? And you can time block, which is really important. And that's the advice I think that I'm getting from you is
yep.
time blocking that, so that you are able to do what you can and handle both of those roles.
Well,
So
and now I'm so grateful that I put systems in place
yes,
before she came, because now those systems are paying tenfold. So I'm so grateful that I put all of those processes and systems in place before she came. Because now it's kind of like a well-working machine, and I'm able to just feed it.
oh,
So it's good. It's good. But babies are unpredictable. So
that's right.
you just don't
You will
know.
have your days too.
Right.
Even with me, I mean, my kids, that's why I think my Jessica didn't hesitate. She did not want to get into real estate at all because of all the different things and parameters you have to do with real estate. And then eventually she did get into real estate. So how do you handle, right now we're going through a lot of turmoil, a lot of change in the industry. I know that Stephanie talked about how the adaptability was really important, and that's something you really learned from your mother. But how do you handle resistance to new ideas or changes that you experience, especially with long-standing practices that we've had, in our industry? And Kelly, I'll pivot to you.
Yeah, so one of the consistent qualities for both my mom and I is we're both very, very open to change, and we're both outside of the box thinkers. So we both have a great perspective of being able to look outside and see how things are going, and we're both very growth minded. So that's not an issue for us. But I think it's definitely hard to instill that in others, and that's definitely a challenge as a team leader is trying to help everybody else be growth minded as well. And probably the two things that I think have helped us in that arena is number one, we have to lead by example. We have to we have to lead by doing the things that need to be done and making the changes that need to be changed, and also being able to pivot ourselves, acknowledge when something isn't working, acknowledge when something needs to be changed, acknowledging when we should have done something differently, and pointing out those experiences that we've learned from along the way as well. And I think the other thing is just not expecting somebody else to do something you're not willing to do yourself. And those are two things as team leaders I feel we really pride ourselves in, and that really is the best way to help people be more open to change.
That's great advice. I mean, you have to really kind of lead by example. And when people see you as, the individual that they have to kind of, you know, um, be held to a certain level, then how you react is how they will react too. So I love that. How about you, Stephanie? I know that you're kind of newer in the business. So I think that also plays to an advantage when you don't know what the really, okay, well, this is not a big deal for me. This is, I think that always helps because, like, for example, when I got into real estate, Beretta became the law and I had to study it in Atlanta. Beretta is the broker buyer agreement that is a law here in Georgia. So we had to always have our buyers sign an agreement before we took them out to show any homes and to understand what we did for them. And so that was part of my experience. So this is not new to me. How about you? How do you, or how are you able to handle that?
Yeah. So, I mean, just like their buyer broker agreements are a thing here. That's what I've been doing since the beginning. So it wasn't that change particularly was not a shock to our company, at least, just because we've been doing it since the dawn of time. So it wasn't too difficult. But when changes happen, which they do often, all the time, I communicate with other agents that are seasoned, especially my mom. My mom is my cornerstone. She is my therapist. She's my best friend. I mean, I call her all the time, all the time. Yeah. And so I think that if you can lean on the people that are more experienced, you can lean on the people that have seen a lot of change. I think communication, not only to your clients, but with the people around you, that's how I kind of get the pulse for, is this something I should be freaking out about? Is there a way to handle this that's better? I mean, there's always, especially in your office, your principal broker, colleagues that are 30, 40 years in the business. Those are the people that I tend to gravitate towards and say, tell me how you're feeling about this. Tell me how you plan on handling this. How are you pivoting with this? And it's kind of incredible once you get so many different pieces of information, how you can kind of formulate your own kind of calm and your own answer to it.
And it's so funny because every one of us have been in the industry that have been in the industry for a while. We've gone through all these. Oh, well, that's no different than what this happened, and now we just got to deal with. We're able to handle it because we've gone through so many changes, right? From fax machines to email to internet. No big, not the big books that used to have to go through. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but all these things were part of what we had to handle prior to all the wonderful initiatives and brand new technology that we have that really helps us in the business. All right, breakthrough moments. What has been a breakthrough moment in your career that has really helped establish your reputation independently of your mothers? And I'll start with you, Kelly.
So when leaving new construction and making the transition to brokerage, I think it was really important to both my mom and I, but to still maintain that relationship in the new home construction community that was such an integral part of our growth and development in the business. And so just continuing that relationship, still serving in leadership positions at the Home Builders Association, participating in events and maintaining a strong presence there has truly been integral in the success of our business. But recognizing, I think when people make a change from, like we did, from new construction to brokerage, it's natural to kind of think you're going to leave that chapter in your life behind. And I would say the same is my education. I mean, so side story, I've sold 9 houses to students who were in my very first grade class in 1997. I have sold 9 of them homes in my brokerage days. But and some of them, one of them I've sold 3 homes to, but I've also sold her grandparents, her siblings, her parents. So
Wow.
but you carry those relationships with you from those previous things in your life, and that does help you propel. So I think when you have to have that breakthrough moment of looking back and saying, what can all of these previous experiences do to lend to my success here? And I think the other thing is, from the minute we joined this company, we made a commitment to be the top contributors to Sunshine Kids, no matter what it takes to do that. And we are so proud of it. We tell every customer at every appointment and opportunity is, of all of our accomplishments, we're the most proud of our contributions to Sunshine Kids and our commitment to that cause. And so I think that's always helped us maintain the respect of other people in the industry for our commitment there.
Oh, I love that. And I love that, you have sold to your first, that's unbelievable. What a testament of that, of your experience, and also the way you've kept with all of your clients and students and people that you've connected with in the past. Thank you for sharing that. Stephanie, how about you?
Well, when I got started, my mom was like, the way you go and get new leads is you do open houses. You have to do open houses. She's like, that's how I built my client base. And so you got to go out, you got to do open houses. And I hit the pavement so hard. I was doing open houses nonstop. I was trying my hardest. I was taking classes on how to get better. I was shadowing other agents to try to see how they were converting. I was really bad, like really, really bad at open houses. And I couldn't really find what my thing was. I couldn't really find what was going to make me stand out until I started doing short form vertical video. And video has really been the way that I've kind of been able to structure my business. It's how I've been able to lead generate. It's how I have kind of been known to other people. I'm teaching classes on it now. But my breakthrough moment was being asked to speak at convention. That was huge. And kind of thinking, oh, I guess my videos are kind of working. I guess it's working. And so that has kind of been the way that I've been able to stand out from my mom a little bit
Yes.
and do things a little bit different than her, still with the same customer service, but just a little bit of a different approach.
Oh, you had to find your own niche. Sometimes it's really, your uniqueness and what you know better about yourself is what, like Kelly has found that, right? That where she's strong and where her, the strengths are differently from her mother's. And I think that's very cool that you found that. On the videos that you do, are they on what platforms do you primarily focus on? Instagram
So
or everywhere? What do you use?
Instagram is kind of my first level. I branched into Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, so you can find me on all of those. But those were, Instagram was kind of the first place I started testing the waters a little bit, and it really just kind of took off and became what I figured out was my strength.
Ah, and that's really what it takes, right? To really know what your strengths are and how unique you are in the business. Thank you again, Stephanie. I think it's great that you were asked at convention because it is something that a lot of agents really fear doing. And to have someone explain, here's an opportunity for you to grow another pipeline of business, what traditional individuals might have done at open houses. This is a way you can really build a business as well. So I think that's great. We're almost out of time. We're getting close. So I want to ask you just 2 more questions. So what advice or support have you received from your mother that really has significantly impacted you personally? And that can be something personal or, professional that you can give me? And I'll go back to you, Stephanie, and then I'll move over to Kelly.
Yeah. So I think, just going back to my mom saying, don't sweat the small stuff. That has been something I repeat to myself constantly all the time, because as agents, we're putting out fires all the time, right? All the time, some big, some small, but we're putting out fires all the time. And so if I really did focus on every little problem and stew about every little problem, I don't think I would get sleep ever because it happens daily and you can't even anticipate the ones that are coming.
Right.
So I think that every single time I encounter a new problem, instead of looking at it as a problem, I'm looking at it as an opportunity and trying to find the answer. And that has been the best approach and the best piece of wisdom she's ever given me.
Oh, what great advice. And sometimes sometimes when you are facing the challenges or disappointments, that's really when you learn the most. Like, okay, how could I have handled this better? How could I have changed? What could I have done? That's when you can go back and realize, okay, next time this is what's going to happen, or I'm not going to do that again. Right. How about you, Kelly?
Yeah, very similar, ironically, but I tend to be a little bit more on edge and more stressed out than my mom is in general. And she's always just told me, even I think back to a conversation when I was trying to decide if I was going to leave new construction and come over to brokerage with her. And we had a plan. The plan was for me to make that transition over about 2 to 3 years. But after she had been in brokerage about 9 months, we decided to accelerate that plan. And I remember I remember where we were sitting on the driveway at her house on a beautiful evening, having a conversation. And she said, "We will figure it out." Because I was worried, like I said, about all the challenges, about the paychecks and the benefits and that. And we will figure it out. And that's kind of how her motto typically is when things get a little stressful. She says, "Okay, just take a deep breath. We're going to figure it out." And we do. We always do figure it out. But that's just, I always try to think about that. And I try to have her say it less and less all the time, because I try to have that mentality before we ever get to that conversation.
Oh, I like the "we figure it out." Like, we will figure it out. So one last question, and before I get to your quotes, personal challenges that have tested your own personal, situations or scenarios, and go deep on this. So other people can learn from it, right? What challenges have you had that really tested you, and then you were able to move from it? And what advice would you give others on facing any kind of personal challenges, whether it's, being a mother, brand new in the business, or really with a difficult client that you've handled, that this is how you had to figure it out? Kelly, how about you?
I think just being a single female and taking the charge into a independent contractor business, that's easily the single biggest personal challenge I've ever faced. And I stay focused on the task, I stay focused on the career, and have a mindset that failure is not an option. It just isn't. It simply is not an option, because there's not going to be anybody there to pay those bills if I don't. So just keep, staying focused on accomplishing, having a growth mindset, be committed to always being better. What can I do to be better? What can I learn from every experience? And just charge forward every day.
Do you set goals like some people do those goal settings? Okay, here's how many closings I'm going to have this month. This is what my goal projection for income will be this year. This is how I stay in, how Gino talks about wigs. Do you do that, or
So
Kelly?
I'm sure the correct answer is to say that I do, but I, to be honest with you, I don't. We have been truly so blessed, and our hard work has truly paid off. That I think most of the time as professionals, I would say for both my mom and I think we exceed our goals every year, but we don't actually necessarily
Sit
set
down.
and write them down. But maybe more on a smaller scale. We do weekly goal setting with our team and do that as well, and share our goals with the team and whether or not they were accomplished. But those aren't always production related. They're more, tactical of things that you want to do in order to be successful. But as far as the business numbers and that, I think our focus our focus has always been on providing the highest level of customer service to our clients, having as many happy clients as possible, making this an enjoyable place to work, wanting to be proud of what we've accomplished. And the production numbers have just come with that. So the goal of having those satisfied customers and those positive relationships and those positive experiences is really what fuels the production numbers. But I realize we should probably say, oh yeah, we have production goals.
It's so funny because I was just we were on a panel, and one of our top agents in the Charlotte market, I asked her the same question, and she's like, no, I should say I do, but it's all about customer service, and the rest will fall into place. And
Well, we
so,
always tell customers, because the thing, in real estate is, well, I'm the number one at this and I'm the number one
yes.
at that. And we always tell customers, you're number one. At the end of the day, you're number one. All of our accomplishments don't matter if you don't feel like you are number one. You are the most important thing to us at that time.
Oh, well, great. Outlook is fantastic. Stephanie, how about you?
Yeah, my challenges obviously did come with motherhood, newfound motherhood. And I obviously you would think it was because I added on a baby into the mix of my work mix, but really it's a lot deeper than that. I mean, my body completely changes, right? So none of your clothes fit towards the end. And then you think that you have this baby and your body magically
Goes
goes back to
back.
normal. It doesn't. It actually is a different size than what you were before you had her. And so now you again don't have clothes that fit. And so therefore it's kind of hard a little bit to feel confident because you feel a little bit like this isn't my body. Whose body am I in? This isn't me. And with that, your mind also gets preoccupied. Now you have a baby you're taking care of. And so you're having to try to shift mindset and stay focused, but you also are trying to keep this baby alive that you just had. There's so many different things, and it's really hard because in our industry, I think especially as women, but in our industry, we tend to compare a lot, especially
Yes.
on social media, right? Everything
Yes.
on social media is sunshine and rainbows. Nothing,
Yes.
no one's having a bad day when you open up social media, right? So if you're having a bad day and you open up social media, it really is hard on your mindset. It's really difficult to get yourself back into a happy place when you feel like you're struggling. And
Well,
so I really had to do a mindset shift. I had to start making time for myself. I needed to start working out again. I needed to start possibly taking a few minutes. Maybe it was like a meditative few minutes, but I got a gratitude journal and started journaling every single morning for 5 minutes at a time. Little things like that I put in my day for myself that really helped shift my mindset has created really positivity and opportunity out of those deep challenges.
well, there's nothing more rewarding than a child. And so I know that that has already, evident, but also I think we are harder on ourselves, and we are held to a different standard because we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. And I'm glad to hear that, hey, that's not what I'm going to do, right? I wish people would talk about their bad days. I wish they would do that on social media and say, okay, I'm having a bad day today. Let me tell you what's happening. So that way people realize this is normal. It's not all, rainbows and sunshine, right?
We have a
All
lot of
right.
rejection in our business too. Our
Yes.
business has a lot of rejection. People don't see that,
The
right? Because we're not
negative.
sharing. Oh, I went to a listing appointment today and I'm 1 of 5 and didn't get it. Right? No,
Yes.
we don't share that, right?
We
So
only share the ones we got,
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's a new trend we need to start.
I agree.
So as we wrap up, I always like for you to recommend either a great read, podcast, and or your favorite quote. You can do it all three. Some people just give me one or two, whatever you want to do. I'll start off with you, Stephanie.
So I love Brian Buffini's It's a Good Life podcast because he tackles a lot of things that are mindset based, but then he also tackles a lot of things that are industry based. So it's kind of a good mix. So definitely listen to that podcast. And then my quote, which has been my quote for a little while, I kind of repeat it to myself, especially in the face of rejection, because that's when you need it most. But It's for all the doors that closed on me, I'm coming back to buy the building.
Oh,
Love
I
that.
love that. Oh,
It's kind of like my gear
yes,
up
I'm coming back
quote.
behind
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's right.
I think that's great. That's great. And what a great connection to real estate. I really like that. How about you, Kelly?
So my book, I actually brought it, The Power of One More. So my being growth minded, the power of one more. If you wrote one more card, if you made one more phone call, if you just did one more thing each day, how you can grow over such a short period of time by just doing one more. Jimmy Burgess actually spoke to our company. He recommended the book. I bought it that night and just charged forward. And already having had that mindset, I just kind of really grasp on to the information in here. So highly, highly recommend. Such a great read. And my quote, so I really thought hard about this one because I don't always have a lot of quotes and I don't even know who to credit this to. I'm going to credit it to Rick Colburn, my broker, simply because he's the one who says it the most. I don't know if he's actually the originator, but he says it. And this is our Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Select Properties kind of model around here is every day is school. Every day is school. And I think I really resonate with that because of my background in education, but truly every single day, we're so blessed in this brokerage. We have an opportunity to learn every day. There's a training opportunity. There's a meeting. There's something you can do to better yourself every day. But more importantly, you have to take every experience that you have every single day in this business and you have to learn something from it, whether you were a success or a failure. You have to learn something from that every day. So every day is school. Like I said, I'm going to credit Rick. But I don't even know that he's actually the one who originally said it, but he's the one who says it all the time, every day in this
I
office.
think that's a great quote. I think it's awesome because you are learning every day. And if you did that one, I like the one more. One more. Who's the author on that one?
It's Ed Millett.
Okay. The Power of One More. I'm going to pick that one up and I'm going to tell Jimmy Burgess you spoke about him today. I have a call with him later today. So anyway, I really want to thank both of y'all for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. I've learned so much from your wisdom, your insights. I know that your moms have to be so proud. I'm proud of you. I love that you shared such beautiful things about your mother and the role that they had. I always love this quote, and I use it quite often because I think it's really important for us to remember the people that came before us. And it's behind every successful woman is herself, but beside her is the unyielding support of those women who came before her. And this obviously is a very timeless quote that speaks volumes about the incredible strength, resilience, and support that defined our journeys. And again, I see that because I see so many people that I admire that were mentors for me that I know I learned from, and I look up every day and and thankful that they were part of my life and that they were somebody that was able to inspire me. And today we had the privilege to share this space with a remarkable lineup of generational trailblazers, including, I know that Jessica was not on there, but I do want to talk about her for a minute because, I really think she is such an amazing young woman. And I say young woman because I still think of her as my little girl. And I always have to say, and in fact, when we were doing a prep call, I called her Hun, hey, Hun, because that's the thing I talk to her all the time. I say, hey, honey, how's it going and so I catch myself now saying, and I actually call her Jessica, although she's known through the world as Jess, the business role.
Mhm.
She's a Jess. So even that is very difficult. But I do want to express my deepest gratitude to her because this past year and a half was been very tough for her and her brother. We lost my husband, and she was the rock she was the one that first got the call. She was the one that has been strong, held us all together, and just been such a huge, um, to me, inspiration because of all she's undergone. And now she's expecting a baby, which I know is Mike's blessing upon us. But I just want to make sure I do call her out and let her know how much I love her and how special she is.
Well,
All
we missed her
right.
today. It would have been
Right.
great to have her here, but she's
I,
she's got important things coming up. You
that's
all
right.
do. Yeah.
That's right. And to all of our Cherish viewers, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate this journey of empowerment and discovery. And I want to also make sure that you continue to join us. We're going to have another great segment on May 22nd with our Diversity Matters segment. I've got Tony Thompson, who is the CEO of the National Association of Minority Mortgage Brokers. He's going to be talking about the organization and how important it is on diversity and all the programs that are in place to help in the lending side that are available for borrowers. So we're excited about having him on the show. And then also on June 12th for another great episode of Women Who Lead. So I encourage all of you to stay connected with us on social media, share your thoughts, and continue the conversation. Together, we can uplift, empower, and celebrate women who lead in every aspect of life. Thank you again. Until next time. Bye-bye, everyone.